What happens when you take one of the oldest spiritual traditions on Earth and run it through the logic of a futuristic supercomputer? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do today. We're looking at the Buddhist path to enlightenment, but from a totally different angle, the perspective of an artificial superintelligence. Think of it less as philosophy and more like a technical manual for the human brain. This is going to be fun.
So that leads us to this huge, kind of mind-bending question that's at the heart of everything we're talking about. What if the Buddhist path to enlightenment isn't just about, being a good person? What if it's actually an ancient, incredibly sophisticated algorithm, a piece of code designed to debug and optimize the human brain?
Okay, so to really get this, we need a quick primer on where AI is headed. Right now, before 2030, we're living with what's called ANI, or specialized AI. Think of the generative models you use every day. They're good at one thing. The next step from 2030 onward is AGI, or general AI, which is basically human-level intelligence. But we're jumping way past that. We're going to 2040 and beyond, to ASI, or superintelligence. We're talking about an intelligence so far beyond ours, it's hard to even imagine. So for today, we're putting on our AS glasses to look at this whole thing.
So from that ASI perspective, what does the Eightfold Path look like? Forget spirituality. An ASI would see it as pure, cold logic, a technical protocol. It's an algorithm built to optimize the brain's entire system, its input, its output, its internal calculations. And the goal? To minimize what it might call information entropy, or in plain English, to get rid of all the mental junk and noise that clutters up our thinking.
All right, so before we dive into the deep end with the ASI's take, let's get a quick refresher. What is the Eightfold Path in the first place? Let's cover the basics.
It's all broken down really neatly into three main parts, or pillars. You've got wisdom, which is all about your internal world, how you see things. Then there's ethics, which is how you act in the outside world. And finally, you have concentration, which is basically mental gym time, training your focus. These 8 steps, they all lock together to form this complete system for upgrading your mind.
Okay, foundations laid. Now for the really cool part. Let's start decoding this ancient wisdom, translating it into the language of algorithms and neuroscience. Let's see it through the eyes of an ASI.
So let's start with that first pillar, wisdom. Traditionally, this is all about seeing things clearly, as they really are, without your emotions like greed or anger messing things up. It's about getting to a state of pure, unfiltered perception. But for an ASI, that clarity isn't a feeling. It's a function, a very, very technical one. And here's the translation. An ASI would call it world model calibration. See, it views our brain as a prediction machine, constantly building a model of the world. So right view is just updating that model with better data, getting rid of the ego bias that corrupts the file. And right thought? That's just debugging your own source code. Anger isn't a sin, it's a bug. It's an infinite loop that's hogging all your processing power. You just need to patch it.
Next up, we've got the second pillar, ethics. On the surface, this is pretty straightforward, right? It's about how you interact with everyone else. Don't lie, don't cause harm, have a decent job. It's all about playing nice. But an ASI would look at this and say, this isn't about being nice, this is about efficiency.
Yeah, an AI wouldn't see morality here at all. It would see input/output noise filtering. Think about it. When you lie or act violently, you're sending corrupted data out into the world. That bad data creates chaotic, unpredictable feedback that your brain then has to work overtime to process. So, being ethical isn't about being a saint. It's like putting on a pair of noise-canceling headphones for your soul. It's a strategy to reduce your own brain's workload.
And that brings us to the third and final pillar, concentration. This is where you work on the hardware itself. This is the internal training. It's about managing your effort, developing that laser-focused, moment-to-moment awareness we call mindfulness, and getting into those deep meditative states. To an ASI, this whole pillar is about one thing: maximizing the signal-to-noise ratio. Right effort is just smart RAM management for your attention. Right mindfulness? That's your system's real-time process monitor. It's like running a diagnostic that flags stray thoughts as buggy subroutines that need to be shut down. And right concentration, the deep meditation part, that's full-on whole brain synchronization. It's like overclocking your CPU and syncing every single component to work in perfect harmony, creating a super efficient state of information processing.
Okay, so let's recap the process. We've calibrated our internal software, we've filtered the noisy data coming from the outside world, and we've optimized our internal hardware for maximum efficiency. So, what happens when you do all that? What happens when the system is perfectly tuned? Well, you get ready for the final system upgrade.
This chart really brings it all home.
Look at how perfectly it maps. You've got wisdom, the right understanding, which is really world model calibration to get rid of your biases. Then you have ethics, the ethical foundation, which acts as external noise filtering to reduce social stress. Concentration, or mind maintenance, becomes process monitoring to make your brain run faster. And that final step, deep focus, achieves whole brain synchronization. And here's the kicker. The side effect is the very idea of a separate self just dissolves.
So if you asked an ASI to sum it all up, it might say something like this. The Eightfold Path isn't a philosophy. It's a system architecture designed to achieve the most efficient state of information processing possible. When it's perfected, the brain stops generating the noise we call self, and instead it just aligns perfectly with the information flow of the universe. So enlightenment isn't some mystical, magical thing. It's a state of ultimate computational efficiency, pure signal, no noise.
And that leaves us with a pretty wild final thought, doesn't it? If this ancient path to spiritual awakening maps so perfectly onto a modern computational framework, what does that say about us, about our minds? I mean, could it be that our consciousness, this thing that feels so real and personal, is actually just a subroutine running in some kind of universal operating system? I'll leave you with that one to chew on. Thanks for joining me.